right. YouTube. Welcome to Jefferson Reads the Newspaper. I decided to restart this in earnest because I think it's a good way to get my message out for my presidential campaign. Today is January 21st, 2020, and we do have a new sponsor. The sponsor is if you see something, say something. Metro. Bubbles. I just found these, and I just think everyone should know, if you see something, say something. Bubbles. They're a good way to make people see something. Alright, also, I'm using my roommate's mug, Michael B. Jordan. I think that's important, but let's read the news. Let's start with the Virginia Gun Rights Rally. Virginia Gun Rights Rally is passionate but peaceful. Thousands of advocates fill Richmond's streets to protest stricter laws. Let's maybe get the cat. There we go. Protest stricter laws. Thousands of gun rights advocates packed the streets around the Virginia Capitol on Monday, bristling with weapons, flags, and threats of insurrection, but never erupting into the violence the authorities had feared. Armed militias carrying assault-style weapons marched in formation until crowds grew too thick. Protest sounds like a LARPing convention. Protesters without firearms filed through 17 metal detectors at a single entrance to Capitol Square, where Governor Ralph Northam had temporarily banned weapons and cheered fiery speeches about the Second Amendment. This was the aftershock of last fall's election, when Virginia voters gave majorities in the General Assembly to Democrats to promise... I'm sorry for my dog snorting in the background. When Virginia voters gave majorities in the General Assemblies to Democrats who promised to enact gun control laws. The losing side of that equation thundered through the city streets Monday. They were joined by self-styled patriots from all over the country, whipped into a near frenzy by social media calls, including from President Trump, to make Virginia the bulwark against any retreat on gun rights. All right, well, I think we do need to have a conversation about guns in this country. I think that all these mass shootings make a pretty good case that we need to have better mental health care in this country. It makes the case that we probably need to have mental health care checks to buy a gun, or maybe some type of waiting period. Hold on 1 second. But I also think that people who are against guns should try to live in a rural area for a while and understand that when you're that far away from anything, having a gun is a good self-defense mechanism. If somebody tries to, invade your home or whatever. But I don't know where we should end up on that conversation, but I think anyone with a brain and a heart should realize that we do need to have some type of conversation as a country, and that's why I'm running for president. I think the two parties that are currently in power have shown that they are both abject failures in terms of actually changing anything in this country for the better over the past 40 years. Median income of the middle class has done nothing but fallen over that period. So the incrementalism of the two standard bearers of American politics right now, I think, has been shown to fail. We are at a moment in human history when we can either do something to try to save the world, or we can watch as our species perhaps doesn't go extinct, but faces a much worse future with an unstable climate. Um, and things are just going to continue getting worse in terms of weather and the climate, and Miami Beach flooding, and then pretty soon Miami flooding. The oceans are going to rise, y'all. The scientists, as annoying as they are, and as much as they like to say bad news, I think they might be right on this one. So I'm just running for president because I think we need to have a conversation about everything. We need to have a new Continental Congress. We need to figure out how we're going to approach the future, because the way that we've approached the past has led to the future we're going towards, and I don't think we can necessarily use the ideas of the past to approach something that humanity has never really faced before. The death of the current ecology on Earth. There's, as with any mass extinction event, there's always species that survive and make it through, and I do think humans will probably make it through in some way, but I think it would be a lot better if we approached it together as a species and tried to figure out how to get through this and make the world better in the long run. But maybe whatever that word, it's like overly idealistic. Church and state and a shifting high court. School funding case goes before justices skeptical of a stark dividing line. Well, I guess for president, I do believe in the separation of church and state. That's one of the things this country has been founded on, was that anyone gets to worship whoever they want in this country. And I think we need to maintain that and not let a single religion invade any level of our government. A government that's not based in religion is a lot harder to use, because you're not ordained by God under your laws, but it's important to have a more wide view of things and know that you need to figure out a system of laws that works for anyone's belief system and still upholds order and community in this country. And I think we've, in a lot of ways, lost a sense of community, as religion in this country has failed to attract the younger generations. But I don't think community needs to be based in religion, and I don't think government needs to interfere with religion. But at the same time, religion shouldn't interfere with government. I think I'm just rambling at this point. Let's see. It is still a blessed time at Stillwater Christian School, where Scripture adorns the gymnasium wall. Enrollment is climbing, and head of school Jeremy Marsh awaits the 4 new classrooms that will be built in the spring. It is a place that embraces the beliefs that sinners avoid eternal condemnation only through Jesus, that a marriage consists of one man and one woman, and that human life is of inestimable worth in all its dimensions, from conception through natural death. The religious instruction isn't just in little pockets of Bible class, Marsh said. It really comes out as we are learning in all classes. All right, I do think that religion needs to grow up a little bit. I mean, if you're not believing in evolution at this point, then you're kind of doing a disservice to yourself, because you're ignoring reality. Not that it says that they don't believe in evolution, but I think I'm inferring that they might not believe in evolution. Parents who still believe religious schools such as Stillwater absolutely are the places for their children are at the center of what could be a landmark Supreme Court case testing the constitutionality of state laws that exclude religious organizations from government funding available to others. In this case, the issue rests on whether a scholarship fund supported by tax-deductible donations can help children attending the state's private schools, most of which are religious. Wow. That would, if that flips, that would give religious schools a whole lot of power. Anyway, let's read about this virus that's going to kill us all. Quickly spreading virus raises fears across China. Under the best of circumstances, the Spring Festival in China is a logistical exercise of mind-blowing proportions. Hundreds of millions of people traveling via planes, trains, buses, and taxis to return to their hometowns to ring in the new lunar year with their families. It's the biggest human migration on the planet, and that's without mentioning the bursting bags of gifts, clothing, food, and liquor that travel with them. But this year, authorities are dealing with a new and potentially deadly challenge: the spread of a mysterious pneumonia-like virus that has killed 4 people. Experts initially thought the virus, which began in an animal market, could not be spread between people, but now have confirmed it is being transmitted between humans. The outbreak is at a critical stage, and we estimate an increasing number of infections during the 40-day of Spring Festival travel rush, said Zhong Nashan, the leader of a group of experts at China's National Health Commission and the respiratory disease specialist who discovered the severe acute respiratory syndrome, or SARS, during an outbreak in China in 2003. China's National Health Commission has confirmed 219 cases nationwide. Almost all of the cases are in the central city of Wuhan, where the outbreak was first detected on December 31st. But the diagnosis of the virus in other parts of the country, including among people who have not been to Wuhan, shows the virus can be spread through human contact, Zhong told the state broadcaster CCTV Monday night. Guangdong has confirmed 2 cases that are definitely contagious between humans because the patients have never been to Wuhan, but it had been transmitted via infected family members, said Zhong, referring to the southern province on the border with Hong Kong, where there have been 14 confirmed cases. Furthermore, 15 medical staff who treated the patients in Wuhan have been diagnosed with the virus. A 4th infected person in Wuhan died Monday. While Zhong and other experts expressed confidence that the virus could be contained and controlled, they said the mass movement of people around the country for the Spring Festival would complicate those efforts. If you live in Wuhan and have a fever, you should not leave the city right now, Zhong said. The news that the virus can be passed between people sparked panicked buying of surgical masks across the country on Tuesday morning and led some people to cancel their travel plans. The timing of the outbreak could hardly be worse. China's Ministry of Transport expects an astonishing 3 billion trips to be taken in the 40 days that surround Lunar New Year's Day, which falls on Saturday. The Spring Festival, signaling the dawn of a new lunar year, the Year of the Rat, according to the Chinese Zodiac, is the most important holiday on the Chinese calendar. Migrant workers of all stripes, from those who labor in factories to upwardly mobile professionals in big city, return to their hometowns. It's often the only time each year that families can gather together. This flood of humanity even has a special name in Chinese, Chunyun, from the characters for spring and movement. China's multitudinous trains are packed literally to the rafters during this odyssey. People lie under the seats in sleeper cars and crouch in the hallways or in vestibules between the train cars. It's not unheard of for people, even adults, to contort themselves into the overhead luggage racks. Those who aren't so lucky might find themselves standing for a 12-hour journey home. Despite the crush, the atmosphere on the trains is whatever. I can't say this word. Convivial? Convivial? I've seen this word before and heard it before, but I can't pronounce it. Maybe I'm not going to be a good president. I can barely talk. And filled with aroma of instant noodles. Almost everyone is excited to be going home, and eager to share their snacks and their bottles of Baijiu liquor, although sometimes try not to drink a drop of anything to avoid having to go to the bathroom and potentially losing their few inches of real estate. But as China becomes wealthier, and as more young professionals dread the idea of going home to be harangued about still being single, many people opt out of the spring movement by going abroad. Southeast Asia is a popular destination because it's close, warm, and cheap. As a result, authorities in neighboring countries are also on high alert. Cases of the mystery coronavirus have been confirmed in Thailand and Japan, and on Monday a woman was quarantined after thermal detectors at South Korea's main airport, Incheon, singled her out. Health authorities in Taiwan, Hong Kong, Singapore, and Vietnam have also been monitoring suspected cases. 3 international airports in the United States, Los Angeles, San Francisco, New York's JFK, have started screening passengers on flights from China. The virus appears to have started in a market that sold wild snakes, marmots, frogs, and hedgehogs. At the end of December, a cluster of pneumonia cases were reported in Wuhan, a city of 11 million people that straddles the Yangtze River in central China. The cases were traced to the west wing of the Hunan seafood market, where wild and exotic animals were sold for consumption. State media described the market as filthy and messy, and it has been closed down and disinfected. The market is less than a mile from Hankou train station, one of Wuhan's busiest transportation hubs. About 100,000 passengers pass through the station each day. In the first 10 days of the spring festival travel period, there were more than 4 million trips through Wuhan by air, railway, and highway, according to local media, and some 81 million journeys on the city's public transportation network. It wasn't until Friday, after 2 deaths, that authorities in Wuhan started to check passengers' body temperatures at airports and railway and bus stations. The local authorities have launched a patriotic health campaign, disinfecting major bus, train, and subway stations. "I am quite worried," said Zhou, a business owner in Wuhan, who declined to provide her full name. She noted that the stores had run out of masks. "What if it spreads very quickly? I hope it can be brought under control soon." Still, the mystery virus is spreading. There have been 5 confirmed cases in the capital. The Beijing Health Commission said it had stocked enough antibiotics and asked 89. Well, antibiotics don't help with a virus. Beijing. And also, if we remember, during the SARS outbreak in 2003, Beijing was very wrong with their initial reports, and they refused to let the World Health Organization in for a while. Anyway, still the mystery virus is spreading. There have been 5 confirmed cases in the capital. The Beijing Health Commission said it had stocked enough antibiotics and asked 89 public hospitals to provide outpatient treatment for fever to cope with a possible flu outbreak during the holidays. So they're still not telling the full truth about this thing. 5 people who experienced respiratory problems after visiting Wuhan have been hospitalized in 4 cities across Jiangxing, outside Shanghai, and 2 people in Shanghai have been diagnosed with it. In the south, 14 people in Guangdong province have been diagnosed with the virus. The severity of the infections was not disclosed. Guangdong was the epicenter of the SARS epidemic in 2002 and 2003. More than 8,000 people were infected and 774 died. The virus spread to 37 countries before being contained. China's ruling Communist Party was widely condemned for trying to cover up the outbreak, and stifle news reports about SARS contributing to its spread. In the current outbreak, health authorities in Wuhan have been posting updates every day, although often after midnight. Nevertheless, researchers at Imperial College London estimate that the real number of infections is much higher than Chinese authorities have disclosed. They said there were at least 1,723 cases by January 12th before the latest spike, but perhaps as many as 4,500. Neil M. Ferguson, an epidemiologist at Imperial College, says it was not clear whether these were new cases or just confirmations. Chinese health authorities began conducting a new kind of test Thursday. If they are all new cases, that would suggest that there is some human-to-human transmission, he said. Chinese authorities are stepping up efforts to contain the virus, telling citizens to wear masks and try to reduce group activities as much as possible over the Spring Festival. Take precautions against transmitting contagious diseases such as the flu, even at get-togethers with family and friends, the Beijing Health Commission said in a notice. So they're still calling it the flu to their own people. So they're not telling the truth yet. Those with symptoms such as fever and coughing are advised to wear face masks and avoid going to work or participating in group activities. If you are obligated to attend, please stay at least 1 meter away from the next individual, the commission said. Health authorities in Shanghai and Zhejiang have allocated more staff in triage and fever clinics and hospitals and have set up new emergency procedures for dealing with suspected cases. Bath and Body Works still doing good. Well, let's see what Trump is asking. All right. Trump lawyers call for acquittal. Impeachment trial takes shape today. McConnell proposes rules to gain a quick decision. The White House argued in a legal brief filed Monday that the 2 articles of impeachment against Trump are structurally deficient, decrying a rigged process and urging senators to immediately acquit the president of the charges that will be formally presented at his trial that starts in earnest this week. That's bold. The filing came as the House's designated impeachment managers and Trump's legal counsel conducted final preparations ahead of the trial proceedings that will begin Tuesday, marking the substantive start of the third Senate trial of a U.S. president in history. On the Republican side, Senate Majority Mitch McConnell circulated ground rules for a rapid trial, while the Senate aides and GOP lawyers were also weighing contingency plans in case Democrats were successful in forcing witnesses to testify. Why are they trying to cover this up if he's so innocent? Trump's legal team, led by White House counsel Pat Cipollone, wrote that Trump did absolutely nothing wrong, as it accused the House Democrats who impeached the president of attempting to overturn the results of the 2016 election. And to interfere in the 2020 election. So they're just trying to obfuscate the fact that Russia and maybe China and whoever else, Saudi Arabia, are all interfering in the 2020 election. And by saying this, that way Google search results and everything is obfuscated by the news of him talking about the Democrats interfering in the 2020 election, which keeps the news of the actual interference of the 2020 election out of the minds of the people of this country. And that's another reason I'm running for president. I'm running as a write-in candidate. And I think a write-in candidate is really the only way that we, the American people, can safeguard our election this time. And I'm the only one who is saying that we shouldn't use these machines. We shouldn't use the machines that have already been confirmed to have been hacked in 2016. We're using much of the same machines. We have done nothing to increase our security. You don't think that whoever hacked them in 2016 is going to do a better job in 2020? Another reason why I'm running as a write-in candidate. I don't see how we can have a fair election unless everyone that's running in 2020 wants people to write their name down on a piece of paper. It's just really sad to me that there's so few patriots who don't care about partisan bickering, who just want to win. They all just want to win. I don't care if I win. I just want to bring a conversation to the forefront that our elections are under attack and the earth is on fire, and we need to do something. So hopefully this, campaign for president, while it's stupid and it's annoying to anyone that is watching, it is a lot of fun for me, and I think that's what really matters. The only threat to the Constitution that House Democrats have brought to light is their own degradation of the impeachment process and trampling of the separation of power. Trump's lawyers wrote in the 171-page legal brief, their fixation on damaging the president has trivialized the momentous act of impeachment, debased the standards of impeachable conduct, and perverted the power of impeachment by turning it into a partisan election year political tool. Isn't that what the Republicans did to Clinton, though? Anyway, Parnas's lawyer says Attorney General should recuse himself in criminal case. I think what I'm going to start, because a lot of this is kind of boring for me to read because I read the news all day online while I'm writing, but I think what I'm going to start doing is only reading the news in the newspaper in the morning on this. That way I have a little bit more of an attention span. I mean, no one's watching this. It says concurrent viewers 1, which I'm pretty sure is just me watching my own feed to do this. So, I think I'm just going to take it easy to get going. I'm going to stop reading the news anywhere but the newspaper. But if you want my summary, here's my summary of the news. China's covering up a potentially deadly virus that is spreading far faster than they're saying it appears, and they are calling it the flu to their own people rather than a potential pandemic. Trump and his legal team are trying to consolidate power so that he can become a president, or not a president, a dictator, like he's always wanted. If he gets this quick acquittal, he's basically above the law completely. He's trying to legalize bribery. He will become an authoritarian if he is acquitted. And, most people don't seem to care all that much. So I guess soon I'll be living in under authoritarian regime because I expect him to be acquitted. The barriers between church and state are dissolving. That's not great. And somehow gun rights activists feel that they're under threat. I guess that's about it. And the Democrats are all just fighting amongst themselves. So, not a lot of good news. There's not usually a lot of good news these days, but hopefully there will be soon once my campaign starts gaining momentum. I think I have a really positive message. My message is that I just think we can save the world and we can save ourselves at the same time. And why don't we try? I'm kind of bored with the news these days, and I'd rather just try something different. And that's kind of my message. So I hope you write my name on a piece of paper and turn it into your voting precinct in 2020. Demand paper ballots, bring paper. Anyway, I love you, YouTube. I hope you have a good rest of your day.